Starting to pop in now.
It's really cold. I got out of my car to walk across the parking lot and I was like, oh my God, it's freezing outside.
As I was saying earlier, my car did not want to start because it was 10 degrees this morning. It was sluggish.
Well, when I was walking the dog, I'm like, I wonder if I can call Maggie and say, Maggie, I'm sick. Can you do the class by yourself?
I would have grudgingly said yes, but then you would have owed me a bunch.
Yeah. Exactly. So today we're talking about buyer consultations today. And so anybody that is that's joining, good morning, happy Friday. If you could all put your cameras on, that would be fabulous. So that way we could have a really great interactive class today. It's very hard just talking to a bunch of names sometimes.
This is like one of my favorite subjects. I love the buyer consultation.
Come on, Jackie, turn your camera on. You too, Amy.
Okay, we gotcha, Angel, no worries. Good morning, Stephen. Hi, Amy, how are you? Thank you for turning your camera on. All right, so we're gonna get started in just a minute here, see if anybody else jumps on. I agree with you, Maggie. As an agent for so many years, I always tended to work with more buyers than sellers. So as we all know, like listings is really where we need to all focus our business. Yet I've always loved my buyer clients. I've always loved working with buyers and helping them find the right property. And so we're going to talk all about that.
You spend a lot of time with buyers, like a lot, especially right now. So
yeah, exactly.
I know it really well.
Exactly. And well, you know, and because of that, because we spend a lot of time with buyers, I can say over the course of my career, and I'm sure Maggie and Steve can say the same, is that sometimes like your buyers, you become really good friends with them. Some of my best friends started out, you know, as buyer clients of mine. And in fact, our team administrator for the real estate team that I'm a part of, Alpern and Messenborg, our administrator was she started out as one of my buyers, and then she ended up working for me, and she actually just became like we became good friends, and then she started working for me, and then the rest is history. That was 7 years ago. So there's like good things come from your buyers clients from spending all that time with them. And like pre-COVID, you know, I mean, then you used to get to know so much about your buyers, because typically if you were going to look at a series of houses, you would ride in the same car together. And that's like where you would really get to know people, like in between the showings, and just be able to ask questions. And, you know, nowadays that does some, you know, we'll get back there hopefully, but you know, nowadays it's a lot of just, I'll meet you there. You know, everybody stays in their own car. All right, let's get this party started. So let's, does everybody, I know I have taught before, so you guys may be familiar with me. I'm Rhonda Messenborg, team leader at Keller Williams Coastal in Rhode Island. I'm also a managing partner of Alpern and Messenborg, our real estate team. Super excited to be here again teaching this session. And I'm also going to have Maggie and Steve introduce themselves as well. We're here to help you guys through the day. So go ahead, Maggie.
Sure. I'm Maggie McDowell. I'm the Director of Technology and Growth here at the Keller Williams Boston Southwest office and Easton office. And some of you may have seen me before. I've been on a couple of these. I teach these as well. And this is one of my favorite subjects to teach, and I'm very happy to help.
I'm Steve DeAngelis. I'm the third member of the team today. I'm the tech trainer, or as I put it, the techno weenie for Market Center for Keller Williams Coastal, which is Market Centers 184 and 700. I get to work with Maggie online every week, and I get to work with Rhonda in person almost every day.
We love you, Steve. Okay, so who's running on the PowerPoint this morning? Do you want to do it on our end?
Yeah, do it on our end.
Okay, we'll get the PowerPoint going here. So from everybody who's joined us so far, of all the sessions that you've taken, we're like coming up to our last week next week. What has been your favorite session so far? What has been like your biggest aha and something you're super excited about that you've learned in Ignite to date? Anybody want to share one thing? I just want to hear one. Somebody tell me one thing that you absolutely loved about Ignite, you loved learning about.
Okay, so I'll go.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. No, I think it's so much good stuff.
Oh, you're on mute, Jennifer.
Mute.
Hello, I'm here. Sorry.
You're on mute again. There you are.
Oh, I get what I'm doing. I'm swiping to see. Yeah, I get what I'm doing. Sorry.
It's okay.
We're back. Every time I swiped it, mute me. Okay. No, I was gonna say every day I pick up something new. So Ignite has been very helpful. But I think a lot of like the prospecting, different ways to prospect, the farming, stuff like that has been very helpful. I know we were talking about open houses or reaching out to people online, like for sale by owners, stuff like that. Just different ways to market yourself. I thought was very, very helpful. And then the statistics as well. Statistics was really good, like seeing the stats of like what buyers want, what sellers are looking for, how you can add value to those, and how you could use your social media to market and all that stuff. It's just been so much. So it's been very helpful.
Great. Love that, Jennifer. That is awesome. And yeah, I mean, all of these sessions are, here to just be built on each other for you to really be able to do just that, is to learn how to market yourself as realtors and be able to, go through best practices to, helping your clients reach their real estate goals, whether they're selling, whether they're buying, whether they're investors, to just make sure that you have the tools in your tool belt that you need. And there's things that you probably aren't. There is a lot, right? This is like, and on top of it, not only is there just a lot that goes into being a realtor on a day-to-day basis, but you have also started your own business. And we also want to make sure that you are running it like a business and you have your goal set and you have your PL, because your business is just going to grow. And so you want to get it off on the right foot right from the very, very beginning. And for all of you, like, we're wrapping up next week, yet we do Ignite every other month. And so even though you're like, I already went through Ignite, go through it again. Like Tom Simgens, who many of you may know from being on Ignite. He was on the last class actually that I taught last week. He's been in the business, Steve? He's been in the business at least 20 years.
25 years.
25 years. And he comes to Ignite regularly. He usually pops into every single session at some point because he's like, it's just basics. I walk away. It's a refresher. It kind of reignites my business, so to speak. So, lean on this series and lean on it often. All of the recordings are out there. If you are like, oh God, what did they say in that buyer consultation class? That was really good. I can't remember. Go back and go through it again. That's what these resources are here for. And then always too, Maggie, and I'm going to let you jump in. You lean on your leadership team because we're here on a daily basis to support all of you. Sorry, Maggie, I know you were going to.
No, it was going to piggyback on the redoing this again, because one of the best things I think happens is you don't get the same person teaching every single session. So you get new ideas, you get new perspectives. There is something very refreshing about being able to see different sides of the same subject. So it is definitely worth repeating a couple of times just to hear different ideas and different ways of looking at things.
Perfect.
And I've taken Ignite 4 times. I've taught probably 10 different sessions now. And as an instructor, I even pick up new items every time I'm involved. The first time Rhonda and I co-taught a class, we both were writing down these ideas that people were giving us, the reverse 100.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's good to just go back and review because you always pick up another piece of information. I need to put this on a lazy Susan so it swings back and forth easily. And whether Maggie, can you keep an eye on the chat because I can't switch over to that box.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So let's move on here. Perfect. So as you have seen on every session, this is what successful agents do every day. We grow our business. We also run our business. We have two sides of the coin. In growing our business, which is what we're going to be talking about today, you have learned how to lead generate for buyers and sellers. I believe you guys have already had the class on working with sellers. Yes. Yes. So learning how to make seller listing presentations in order to get listings. Today, we're talking about buyer presentations to get buyer contracts. And then the fourth thing that we do to grow a business is preview real estate. So if you're a new agent and you don't have any listings yet, and maybe you're not working with a buyer at the moment, spend a Saturday, pull up what open houses are going on Saturday in your area and the areas that you want to serve, and just go to a few open houses. So you just start to formulate the market, what's on the market, what those prices are. And if you just happen to be, somewhere where you run into your neighbor and that they're looking in, at homes in your neighborhood, or even if you're not sure, it's a good conversation opener to say, hey, did you notice that the house that just came on the market down the street? I was actually in that house. I toured that house this week, and this is all the things that it had in it. It is going to be a conversation starter. They don't need to know you just went to the open house because you didn't have an appointment that day. To them, it feels like you're in business and you're doing things to grow your business. So get in the habit of going to open houses. The other thing it does, aside from just helping to grow your business, is we are a big realtor community. There are two sides to every transaction. So over your career, you're going to formulate relationships with agents from other companies. Maybe sometimes you're going to do transactions on the other side with another agent from your company. Many times it's going to be somebody else from a different company altogether. It's good to have those relationships. So when you call to set up a showing, they're like, oh, Roberto, yes, how are you? Oh, it's so nice to see you at the open house last week. So you're already formulating those relationships with agents as well, because that's important. And it's really important in this market when there are multiple offers on so many things. And if you have a relationship with the listing agent as the buyer agent, it may just kind of help a little bit if they know, what? Every time I do something with this agent, it always runs smoothly. If there's two offers that maybe are exactly identical, the fact that you have a relationship with that realtor might just weigh a little bit more in your favor. So super, super important. And then on the run side of the business, market listings, show houses, negotiate contracts, do the transaction management, have relationships with your vendors. Set your goals. We're talking about you're running a business. Always make sure you're in compliance, right? Minimizing risk. And here you are today, attending trainings, getting coaching. You should always be growing in your business in a personal and education capacity. And then back to business, manage your money. There's so many agents out there who are so successful as far as numbers go and how much business they do, and they don't have any profit because they're not managing their money correctly. So we want to make sure that you're running on the 30-30-40 model. It's a little different for a single agent, but you are getting profit out of your business and not just pouring money in and letting it pour out the bottom. Anything to add?
Nope.
Okay.
Down there.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, I feel like this is out of order. Oh, it goes this way. Oh, I got it now. Okay, we're going to talk about setting the appointment to get the buyer consultation. So who has seen this, who has seen the funnel here before? Yeah, okay. Let me just bring up my notes here. Hold on, give me one moment here, technology. Okay, so who can tell me what the definition of a buyer is? Does anybody know what the true definition of a buyer is?
Somebody who's ready, willing, and able to purchase real estate.
Exactly. They are somebody who is able, ready, and willing to purchase a home. Sometimes you might have somebody who is willing and who is ready, but they may not be able. Right? So you have to have all of the pieces. To have a true buyer, they have to have all of those things. They have to be ready, they have to be willing, and they have to be able, meaning that they've spoken to a lender, they've gone through their finances, and they have the ability to purchase. So now this, there's in your packets, there's a buyer lead sheet. It's in the toolkit. Does everybody have a copy of that, of the toolkit? Yeah, if not, Maggie can maybe put it in the chat. for you.
I'll put it in the chat. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so in there, there's a buyer lead sheet that you can classify, buyers. Also utilizing your command system, right? We're going to talk a lot about command today. And classifying buyers as far as when they go into opportunities and how you tag them. Are they somebody who is ready to buy in the next 3 months? Are they ready to buy in the next 6 months? Are they ready to buy in the next year? Are they somebody who's just thinking about buying and isn't really sure of their time frame yet? You're going to want to classify all those buyers differently, because that's also going to determine how and how often you're going to communicate with them and in ways that you're going to communicate with them. Does that make sense? Okay, so once you've identified somebody who is a true buyer, meaning they're ready, willing, and able to purchase real estate, the first thing you want to do is set the appointment with them. And what is the purpose of setting the appointment? What are you going to do in that first appointment with them?
Find out what they're looking for.
Exactly. You're going to have a consultation with them, right? A lot of times, like with the first appointment, we're already just showing them houses. Somebody calls and says, hey, I'm interested. They might call on a property. And you're like, great, I'll set up the showing. I'll meet you there. And maybe that house really has nothing to do with, they might like something about that house, but it really may have nothing to do with exactly what they're looking for. So it's important to set an appointment before you go look at the house, even if it's the same day. If they say, hey, look, I only have Saturday available. That's it. I want to see this house. I don't have time any other day. I work all week. That's fine. You know what? Let's meet at my office at 10 o'clock. We'll go look at the property at 11:30, but let's just sit down and talk for an hour. So that way I know that I've asked you a lot of questions. I know what you're looking for. So that way we're not wasting your time, and we're making sure that I'm working for you in the capacity that you need me to.
Yeah, Rhonda, that's the biggest objection you get all the time, right? I don't have time. Actually, you don't have time not to meet with me. Let me explain why, right? A meeting with me can really cut down the time it takes to find the right home for you, right? They don't have enough time not to meet with you. And it's not also just to add an aside, it's also for safety reasons for yourself as well. In fact, I actually just talked to one of my agents. She showed me a text exchange she had with somebody who came in off of Instagram that just literally came into her. Somebody said, I saw your posting on Instagram. What do you have available for houses? And she said, well, what's your name? And they're like, why do you need my name? And there was a couple more text messages, and he said, well, you're so pretty. And I'm like, oh boy, this conversation is over. So it was like, it's a safety thing as well, but it really is too, like, you need to find out what your buyer needs and wants, so you don't waste their time and your time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maggie, I love that you brought up the safety issue. And this is like non-gender specific. Things happen, horrible things have happened. And I think a lot of times, and I'm going to throw myself in this bucket too. A lot of times as realtors, we don't think about our safety because we're working so hard to get business done. And over my years, I have met many people, many buyers at properties. And the first time I've ever met them was at a showing. And it's not cool. Like, it's just not cool. And you should never get in the practice of doing that. You should always set the appointment like we're talking about, to really get to know them and make yourself stand out from other realtors who are not taking the time to get to know their buyers. And secondly, to just make sure that you are being safe, because that is number one. Okay, so you can also, you can move down to the next one. So the purpose of setting the appointment, so the purpose to have that consultation is to find out what exactly they're looking for. And what is the second reason that you're going to set the appointment? Does anybody know the second thing that you want to come from having that meeting with your buyer?
Get to sign the buyer's rep agreement.
Exactly. Great, Bobby. That's awesome. You want them to sign a buyer's agreement. with you. This is also a step that a lot of buyers just step over, and they don't have that conversation. They don't have buyers actually sign. Like, we're used to listing agreements. And if you're going to list somebody's home, you have an exclusive right to sell listing agreement with that seller. A lot of times there is an agreement on the buyer side as well. And a lot of times agents just step right over it and say, well, if I do a really good job, they're going to want to work with me. And so I'm not going to make them sign something. They're uncomfortable about signing it. However, it's important for a number of reasons. What is the purpose of that buyer's agreement?
So that you're like committed to each other. That way they can't buy a house with somebody else and you can focus on working for them without worrying about losing a sale.
Exactly. That buyer's agreement, that's going to set the parameters for your working relationship. That commits you to each other, that you are going to perform certain tasks for them, and you are going to be committed to helping them buy a home, and that they're going to be a priority in your business for doing that. On the flip side, that buyer is committing that they're going to purchase a home through you, and they are not going to go to an open house and put an offer in with the person standing at the door that day, because they are represented by you as their agent. And that happens a lot too. I think all of us in business, from time to time, I bet you it has happened to Steve and Maggie, correct me if I'm wrong, right? You're working with somebody for a very long time, and then you find out they went and they bought a house without having you involved.
We have a joke about that here in our office. We call it the banana bread problem, because what ends up happening is the buyer buys the house with somebody else and says, oh, thank you for your time. Here's a banana bread. But you would rather have the check than a banana bread, let me tell you. So we have, it's our little joke here. It happens all the time. And I see, Rhonda, I'm sure you hear the stories all the time from your own agents, but it is one of those things where, and now I have a top producing couple in my office who they used to never get the buyer agreement, but that one time they got burned, and now they always get it. So it hurts. Start doing it before it stings. Let's do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's just not being comfortable with the script. So maybe Maggie, can you bring up the script that is, it's on page 18, I believe. It's either on page 14 or 18 in the script book. I think it's a script for getting the buyer's agreement. So I think a lot of times as agents, we feel, and I'm going to put it right down to the thing that makes us uncomfortable, is that, actually, because are you sharing your screen? Do you have to bring it up?
You're sharing, yeah.
Okay. But the one piece of it I think that sometimes makes us uncomfortable as agents is the compensation part of it. Right? Because if there was no compensation mentioned in the buyer's agreement, everybody would be like, oh yeah, no, this is great. But I think sometimes when it comes down to, you have to actually talk about compensation, which sometimes in real estate is the piece that everybody's uncomfortable talking about. And as agents, we have to get over that. And you are offering a service, and you should get paid for that service. And you should be very, very comfortable talking about what your services cost and the value behind it, the value of why that is your cost. Does that make sense?
Is that the one you want?
Yeah. What page is that?
Page 12.
This one says using scripts, page 18.
Oh, 18. Okay.
18. My manual says 14.
There's 14, and then it says 18 under it. See it? Like there's like two. So I'm just trying to,
okay.
let's see.
15, 16.
What is that one? Oh, after the agreement signed. Oh, maybe one more page. Go up one more page. Oh, let's do this one. Okay, so yeah, let's share that, Steve.
All right, hold on. Here.
This one?
Handling objections.
Which one do you?
Go up one more page. Yeah, go up
One more page.
one more. Right
there. Ta-da.
Right there. Perfect. This is one that we want to talk about. So let's let's talk about handling objections to exclusivity. So who wants to does anyone want to do this with me? Anybody?
No brave souls?
Somebody speak up before I pick someone.
Oh,
I'll do it.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you. Okay. All right, so who said that? Was that Angel who raised?
That was me.
Okay, thanks, Angel. Okay, so Angel, because of the level of service I provide, I can only work with buyers who work exclusively with me. Let me remind you that by signing, you are not agreeing to pay me a fee. Okay, so right there, that like right in that first sentence, you're going to take away that fear of where the agreement becomes all about money, right? You want the purpose of the buyer's agreement is to talk about the value that you are going to provide to your buyers and the value that they're going to get by signing the agreement with you. So I'm going to go on to the next sentence. You are agreeing to have me represent your best interests and to use my knowledge and expertise to find you the best home at the best price. That is what you want, isn't it? To find the best home for the best price?
Yes.
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 Okay, so objection number 1, I don't want to sign anything. I may want to work with other agents. Here's your answer. When you engage me as your real estate sales representative to sign the buyer oh my gosh, apparently I didn't have enough coffee today, representation agreement with me, I am contractually obligated to share any information about the seller's situation that I find out. For example, if it's a divorce, relocation, or an estate sale. Without that agreement in place, I am actually a sub-agent to the seller. That means that I do not represent you and I cannot share that information with you. I want to be your advocate, not theirs. Let's do the right thing and sign the buyer representation agreement.
So I'm going to make a note about this particular script. This does not work in some states.
Yes, because in some states,
yeah,
right, because of dual agency laws, you do need to know your dual agency laws. Now, Maggie, for you guys as well, you can be a facilitator to that buyer if you are representing the seller, correct?
Yes. Yeah, basically you can they become your customer and not your client, basically, if you work with them. And I like to there's alternate scripts to this, right? You can say like, I assure you to work with me. I always add a clause that anybody can get out of it at any point in time if they feel like I'm not offering the best service to you, right? That's a good way to get out of I may want to work with other agents. Well, here's my guarantee. Like some people have actually contracts for guarantees that say if you do not, if you decide that you don't want to work with me, then we'll just null this contract right away. So there's ways around that's particular one without having the sub-agency.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Is to offer that guarantee, because that also takes any of that hesitation out of that buyer's mind. And also explaining to them why they should have one agent, right? Sometimes, buyers will say, well, I want to be able to work with other agents because, there might be, sometimes I feel like if I go directly to the listing agent, they're going to give me the best deal. So I want to be able, I don't want to sign with one person. I want to be able to kind of play the field a little bit, because if I go to that person, if I go to Steve and Steve has a listing, Steve might cut me a better deal because he's going to get both sides of the transaction. Right. And in that case, you have to remind your buyers, listen, Steve works for the seller, right? Steve is obligated to represent the seller and to represent their best interest. And in our states where we're not allowed to do dual agency, you want your own representation. You want somebody who is serving your best interest. And quite honestly, even in a state that does allow dual agency, at that point, if the agent is they can't represent both sides. They can't represent the best interest of two people.
I mean, we allow it, but we hate it. I think it's
well, what happens is, right, you have to go down the slippery slope as an agent and toe this line in between everybody, right? So that way the sellers don't feel you're not being fair. The buyers don't feel that you're not being fair. And what does that do for you? What does that do? It actually kind of puts you in like a risk situation for down the road, right? So you want to be able to say, listen, I want to represent you exclusively. And if you are the listing agent and somebody comes in and is not represented, there's nothing wrong with as long as they know up front, listen, I represent the seller, I represent the seller's best interest. If you don't feel that you need an agent representing you, that's fine. And I can be a facilitator to you and handle all the paperwork. And I know we're getting off the topic of buyer representation, but I just want to throw that in there as well. And if you are in any of these situations and you need help, this is what your Market Center leadership is for, to talk you through, or your mentor. So if you are in a situation where you're not sure what your response is to somebody, because you may run into these scenarios in the buyer consultation right away, and they might be asking you a question. Well, what happens if I get this one a lot. What happens if I want to see one of the homes that you have listed? Right? I'm going to sign a buyer representation agreement with you, but what happens if I want to see one of your listings? Then what happens? Right? So you have to be able to talk through that and say, oh, listen, if you want to see one of my listings, that's great. I actually work with so-and-so, and I will have them represent you through the offer process. So that way you have your own advocate, and you have somebody that is working for you. And then afterwards, if we come together, I can handle the paperwork or what have you. So you have to be really comfortable talking through all these things, because we give you all scripts, but sometimes the consultation might not just go like this. It might not go along. There's going to be different conversations that happen, and you need to be able to just kind of pivot and answer their questions and still remain confident. So that way they feel comfortable with you. Does that make sense? Okay.
I recommend, if you haven't yet, the take an agency class for your state or whatever your area, just so you can understand it, because it can be cloudy in some cases.
Yeah.
And it's like the last thing that you want to get wrong, because boy, the 93 A's on these are not great. So
Exactly. And with your buyer's agreement, you can set the terms for whatever you want it to be, right? Say you might get a call off of, whatever, somebody saying, listen, I want to just see this house. And they may say, I don't know if I want to sign an agreement with you today, because I don't know you, right? I'm just sitting down with you. I don't know if I want you if I want to enter into a legally binding contract with you. So you could say, great, you know what, we're going to set it for a 30-day period. We're going to set it for a 30-day period. We'll get to know each other. And then, as Maggie said, and if you're not happy with my services, or we decide mutually that we are not the best fit for each other, the contract's only going to be for 30 days. We can extend it if we want to continue working together. You can set it for an area. So sometimes we have buyers who are looking in 2 different states, right? Because Massachusetts is close to Rhode Island, it's close to Connecticut. So sometimes, and they may say, oh, you know what? I actually have an agent I've been working with in Massachusetts. I've been working with them a long time. They're not licensed in Rhode Island. I just need somebody to represent me in Rhode Island. So you can set your buyer's agreement for a specific area, or the whole state. It can be just a couple of towns, whatever. It's totally customizable to what works for you and what is comfortable for the buyer.
yeah, you can even set it for an individual property. Put it right there.
Exactly. Any questions? Any questions on that? So if you look at the bond, before we stop sharing, did somebody have a question? I'm sorry.
I did. Do you have an example of a buyer agreement, or the kind that Keller Williams uses?
Each state has their own different one.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's by state. And then then I know Keller Williams will kind of adopt some of these documents and put their name on them. I'll talk to my leader.
What state are you in?
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
You're in Massachusetts. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Each state typically has their own. I know we're in Rhode Island. In Rhode Island, we use just the state form. We don't use anything
Yeah,
specialized.
same thing, Janet. For us, that we use the state form, so you can either use the MAR buyer contract, or depending on your board, the board contract. Either one. So I would check with your leadership, see which ones they like. Most of the time, I don't know which office you're in, but if you're in sort of like in our area, we're the Greater Port of Boston, so we accept either the Greater Port of Boston forms or the MAR forms, either one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll figure it out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love objection 3, Ron.
Yeah, Yeah, Maggie, do you want to read through that one?
Yeah, I can find my own, I can find the home on my own through the internet. You get that a lot, right? So searching for homes is the fun part, and we certainly use the internet to find your home. Finding your dream home is not why you hire me as a buyer agent. You hire me as an agent to help you get the house that you find. My job is to protect your interests in the home buying process and negotiate on behalf of you to get your best price and terms.
It's great. Yep. You get that one a lot, right? People love to, they love to like utilize some of those consumer sites to find properties. And we have an answer to that because you all have your own KW app. Is everybody aware of your KW app? Yeah. So if you are not aware of it, absolutely reach out to your tech trainer. That app, you have your own consumer site, your own consumer app that you can share with your buyers. And that way, when they're looking through that app at properties that are for sale and they want to inquire on something, it'll go right to you. So everybody has a unique link that downloads and goes to their own app that is branded to them, and it pulls your information out of your marketing profile in Command. So, okay. Oh, Angel, do you have a question? Oh, I think it's my hand.
No, not me.
Okay. So make sure you're utilizing that and share that app freely with your, with your buyers, because any inquiries they're making are going to come to you directly.
Has anybody come across any other objections they would like to hear something on, or any other questions regarding some of the objections you might have during a consultation?
And again, if they come up, and if you think of something as you're going through some of this material, definitely ask somebody in your market center to help you. Ask your productivity coach or your mentor, how would I handle this objection if I come across it? Being as prepared as possible is going to make you feel comfortable. However, if you just read through those objections, or if you script practice with somebody, everybody should have a script practice partner. And that way you can just sit there and you can just kind of come up with objections, right? Maybe a great exercise for everybody to do is to just make a list, like later on today or over the weekend. Just sit down and put yourself in a buyer's shoes and make a list of every objection you can think of that maybe somebody might, as crazy as it is, and see if you can come up with an answer for it. And if you can't, then come back to your leadership and if you're going to coaching sessions through your productivity program, or you're sitting with your mentor and say, hey, you know what, I was brainstorming this weekend. I learned how to put a buyer presentation together, and these are some objections that may come up that I think, if I'm thinking as a buyer, I may have, and I'm just a little stumped on what would be the best answer for this one.
I do want to make one mention too, because we did talk about this briefly on that buyer agreement. Yes, you do not have to ask for a fee. However, you can. So in fact, I actually had an agent in my office once, and she always guaranteed herself 3%. She was so good at the way she presented herself at the buyer presentations that she was able to ask for 3% every single time. So whenever she closed a deal, she always got a check from the co-broke, and she always got a check from her buyer. I thought it was amazing. So
that is amazing.
Yeah, if you're good at this, you can actually ask for 3% guaranteed. So the better you are at your scripts, the better off you can be. So in the long run.
Yeah, and the reason why she was able to get that 3% is because she showed value.
Yep,
and her buyers believed in her value to say that, what it is, if the co-broke is not paying a 3% co-broke, and I have to make up that difference. So what that would mean is that, in MLS, there is a co-broke fee on all of the listings that are present. So, before you are showing a property, what that co-broke fee is going to be. So you'll know if it's 3%, 2.5%, 2%. You always have to check it. Sometimes, in these crazy times, sometimes it says 1%, right? Which, if you don't have something in the buyer representation agreement in that section, then you are getting 1% of that transaction if you put it under contract. if in that, if having that conversation during your consultation to say, my professional service fee is 3%. This is why, this is the value I'm bringing. And this is 3%. You can structure it any way you want. You can say, you can put something in there like, my fee will be as stated in MLS unless it is under 2% or 2% or under. In that case, my minimum compensation is 3% or is 2.5%. So you can structure it to say whatever you want, and then have the conversation. So when I see a compensation of 2% on a listing, working with a buyer, I'll say to that buyer, listen, in the agreement, in our purchase and sale agreement, and putting an offer, right, I'm going to try to get 3% out of that. I'm going to put it in there that the seller is going to agree to pay us a 3% co-broke. Right? So we'll try to get it from the seller first. If they don't agree, in that case, I'm going to ask you to make up the difference from 2% to 3%. But you have to have that conversation. If you don't have a buyer's agreement with them and you haven't had a consultation with them and you haven't had that conversation with them, then it's going to be very difficult in the heat of the moment when they find their dream house. And then you have to say to them, oh, look, right, you're already paying probably over asking because there's 12 offers on it. And don't forget, you got to pay me an additional % for your commission. So that's not the time to be having the conversation. The time is when you sit down in the buyer consultation. And I always say that even whether you're talking with a seller or you're talking with a buyer, be the one to bring up your compensation, right? You want to come from offense, not from defense. You want to be the one to bring it up, and don't kind of like skirt around it. You want to be direct about it and say, let's talk about what my services entail. Let's talk about the value of my services, and then let's talk about my professional fee.
So Ariel, Ariel put in the chat, was under the impression the buyer never pays the commission. So the seller pays the commission, right? I mean, it's included in the price of the house, basically, right? However, you can say, right, that's a percentage, right? You can put in your buyer agreement that you will get compensated from them, right, for something. You can put in there that I'm guaranteed 2.5%, right? So the 2% from the co-broke, and if they're only offering 2, they would get the other half from the buyer. So you can actually put that into your contracts. You don't have to, right? If you don't feel comfortable with that negotiation, you guys are relatively new, it might be something that you do later on but I do want to make mention that if you are relatively good at negotiating, you can actually get some percentage or guarantee yourself something in case someone does run off on you and goes and works with another agent. So
yeah, I mean, true story is there was a new construction home that one of my buyers wanted to take a look at, and the seller was selling it himself. It was like an entry only listing. So we were dealing with the seller himself, and the commission was listed. It was a $400,000 property, and the commission was listed as $2,500 flat fee. And it further went on to say that if there were any seller concessions made, it would be deducted from that $2,500. Right? Which, $1,000 concession, $2,500 concession is quite common. So, right, you could be then looking at a case where you're not getting any commission at all for putting that transaction together. So if we didn't have a buyer's agreement already in place, and your seller and your buyer wants to see that house, right? We have to put our buyer's best interest. You can't, be like, well, I'm not going to show you that house, right? So that's why it's important to have this conversation up front. So I was able to go back to the buyer and say, hey, look, they're paying a $2,500 commission, right? Our minimum fee is 2.5%. So we're going to write it in the if you want to move forward in this house, I'm going to write it in the contract that he agrees to pay our side 2.5%. But if not, that's something that you're going to be responsible for. And in that instance, in that case, it kind of made them a little bit leery of the seller. And so, they decided not to look at it. However, I never once said to them, I'm not showing you this house because of the commission, right? It was just basically, it was a straightforward conversation with them is, listen, you need to know that this is what they're paying as the buyer's compensation, buyer's agent compensation. So in order to move forward, we're going to do our best to get it from them. However, you need to know that you're going to be responsible for the remaining % should we decide to move forward per our buyer contract. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, she said thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, great.
Sorry,
So-
yes, answered my question. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
That was
You're
such a
so
good
welcome.
explanation.
You're so welcome. So now we're going to move on to talking about the buyer presentation itself, which in Command, yay Command, you can prepare it right in the design center of Command. So it isn't something that you need to figure out and put together and like, what am I putting in there? There is a template right in there that you can just totally customize to you. So do you want to go through the demo quick? I know it has a lot of pages in here about the demo, going through the different parts of it. We're going to talk about, Steve will demo it, and then as we go through, I'll have him bring up the parts of it that we need. Any questions so far?
Someone say something?
No, it's just me. I was just saying, just like the listing presentation, the buyer presentation, you should do these ahead of time.
Yes.
Yes.
There is customization that is involved, and let me tell you, you want to be ready for an appointment that comes, right? What ends up happening, a lot of new agents, they don't have something ready, but either listing presentation or buyer presentation. They suddenly get an appointment, they're super excited, but the appointment is in an hour and they don't have anything. So now there's a lot of tears going around because now everybody's trying to rush to get whatever they're trying to get done ahead of time. So this is something you can do ahead of time, is to customize it. So you just have to throw in the important stuff when you get that appointment.
So if you go into the design portal on Command, tell it you want to create a new design, and then you want to go to the buyer and then the buyer presentation.
Are you, you're not sharing your screen, Steve.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's go back and fix that. Screen share. So essentially, okay, you're seeing my design screen now?
Got it.
Okay, cool. It's tough to have two people sharing one computer at opposite sides of a desk. So if you go into designs, which is it's the third from the bottom button on the vertical menu in Command, tell it you want to create a new design, and then it's a print design. And then you want to open up the buyer section and go to the buyer presentation. And then it brings up all these templates that are in here. And you've got, so you can take any one of these and customize it.
Make
Which one
sure
are you
you're
gonna use?
selecting the booklet's letter, not the booklet's A4, unless you're in Canada.
Yes, good point. Very good point.
Okay.
So the first section we're going to do is talk about is the table of contents.
Yeah, Steve, do you just want to show them real quick just how to add a page so they know that just real quick, because this is the part where people mess up a lot when they're doing designs.
I'm trying to think. It looks like you're this one.
They're all the same, they just look different. You get to choose
Your template.
your template. Are you feeling fancy and classy, or are you feeling sassy and relaxed?
Feeling
pick your
sassy?
template. So you pick your template. Go ahead, Steve.
I have to actually talk now?
Show them
We
how
know
they
you
add
want
pages
to.
to their template.
Okay, so when you open up the template you want to work with, you'll see that it's got stuff in here that is not you. So what you need to do is you need to have your assets all set up. So when I go to logos, I can come over to this logo here. And then I come over to pick the one I want to use. And if you just click on the little circle, you can see it replaces the logo that's there. You can then you can then edit your name. I like to add their name in, your guide to home ownership prepared exclusively for Mary Buyer. And then you can just go through this once you've got your cover set up. And I love Zoom. It always puts the pictures right where you want to go.
I know.
If you notice on the lower right-hand corner of the screen, there's a button that says additional pages, and you can just go through and pick the pages that you want to add to your presentation. So we've got one, which is the buyer consultation page, which takes you through everything. We've got another page here. Here you can customize, the cover. So it's got a good selection of things you can use. And you pick and choose the pages you want, you add them in. You can make copies of them, etc. And you can build your whole presentation just by pointing and shooting. Any questions up to this point? Okay, not hearing any. So you pick the pages you want to use. So let's go back to the cover. So we have our cover. I've got my logo on here. Let's pretend I put my name in there. Then I want to put in a table of contents. So I tell it I want to use that. I can drag that over and use it.
No, so Steve, it works a little differently now. All the pages are automatically in it. You have to now delete the pages. So
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's the other thing I love about Command. They make these changes and they tell Maggie, they don't tell me. So that makes it easier because you can just click on the 3 buttons and say, delete this page, and it's gone.
Just so you know, that page is really important that he just deleted, because that page actually explains how you do the presentation. So it's for you, it's your instruction page.
Okay, so let's go to
Don't delete that one.
Let's go to a less dangerous page. This is a very good one. You want your buyers to be using your phone app.
Yep. And we're gonna go through all of the pages, just so you know.
Yeah. So you come in and you make, you actually put in the code for your phone app here. And you just kind of page through it and build your profile, your preference profile. What's important to find out from your buyers is what are their wants and what are their needs. Everybody wants the big home with the 3-car garage, but if it only has a 2-car garage, is that a deal breaker? You need to find that out up front, because you may find the perfect house, except it doesn't have a 3-car garage. It only has a 2-car garage. Is that something that's going to kill the deal? Or, okay, it's got everything else I want. I'll make the 3rd car sit out in the driveway or something.
Yeah, and I love that point, Steve. And sometimes you have to dive a little bit deeper when you are asking those questions, and pointedly ask the buyer that you're working with just that question. Okay, you said you wanted a 3-car garage. I'm going to create an automated search for us. Do you want me to only include homes that have 3-car garages, or may I include a home that has a 2-car garage or a 1-car garage? So that way we can just see it on the market, right? Sometimes buyers will say, I want gas and it has to be on town water, town sewer. There's still places that are on septic and wells. You have to ask that question. Okay, do you want me to exclude homes that are on septic and well and only include the homes on sewer? Because you want to know what they say, because they may say, well, I would consider it. Okay, then you're going to leave it in the automated search for them. Because if you exclude that home, you might be excluding something they really end up that perhaps might really work for them. But yet, if they're absolutely against a house that's not on municipal utilities, then you want to get rid of those, because you don't want to waste their time even looking at it, etc. So don't be afraid to ask lots and lots of questions. You're not asking too many questions. You're diving in deeper to really find out what's important to them. And like Steve said, what's a nice to have and what is a must have deal breaker if the home does not fit in this criteria. So this is like a get to know you conversation with your buyers to really understand what they're looking for in the market.
Yeah.
And when you're
go ahead.
And when you're building your preference profile, ask them who's going to live in the house. Because if they say, oh, my parents are going to be living with us, can they deal with stairs, or do we need to look at things that have 1st floor bedrooms? I ran across a case once where it was actually a house that I didn't get to buy, but the person that bought it had an adult son in a wheelchair, never took the kid into the house until the walkthrough the night before the closing, and found out that night that wheelchair would not fit through any doorway in that house. But it was a cash deal. He had waived all conditions. he had to go through with the closing or lose his $25,000 deposit. So I got to buy the house on the rebound. He actually had to put it back on the market because he couldn't live in the house, and he still had to pay commission. So he lost about $35,000 on that whole deal. And I don't know what happened to the listing agent, but I always ask who's living in the house so that you can make sure that there are accommodations for those conditions.
Steve, do you mind sharing the PowerPoint again? Because it's this way it goes to like every page, nice and big.
Yep, hold on a second. Let me do this.
And during this process of discovery with your buyers, make sure that you're taking notes for everything. Make sure you have your notebook, take notes, and then who can tell me what are you going to do with the notes at that point? Where should those notes live? Anybody have a guess on where maybe you should put those notes?
In command.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
Who said that, Mark?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a note section in command. So command is the place where is like the kind of the keep all for everything about that buyer. You're gonna have their opportunity in there. You're gonna have their contact card in there. As you're sitting there talking to them and you're learning more about them and learning more about their family, go into command, put their children's names in there so you have them. You can set custom fields in there if you're talking about something that maybe there's not already a field for. In command, there's a section to add custom fields. Make sure you have both. You have, everybody who's going to be involved in the sale, they have a separate contact card. You can link them together, whether they're a partner, they're a spouse, whether it's two siblings buying a home together, you can link their cards together. There's a section for notes, so you can go in and put, any sort of notes in there. There's activities for every time you have communication with them. You can go in there and put an activity in there. But if you get in that habit of every time you're sitting down with somebody, you're taking notes, and then you go into command and you update, you're going to, at any point in time, because as you get busier and busier and busier and you have more and more and more clients, you may not remember what Mark said to you on the phone the other day, right? You might not remember that conversation that you sat in because you had 10 other consultations happen in the 2 weeks after. So if you go back to his command record and right, this is what we talked about that day. This is what Mark is really looking for in the home. You're going to have it all documented and not be flipping, like, where's that notebook? Flipping through notebooks and all that stuff, trying to find the page that you wrote all of that stuff down.
And as you're working with, and this is especially true with first-time home buyers, they may give you one set of conditions, their needs. And then as they start looking at houses, they begin to realize, well, maybe I don't really need, that particular feature. Maybe that's not that important, or maybe, oh no, it suddenly dawned on me that, I can't do stairs. Let's not look at two-story houses, or let's only look at houses with first floor bedrooms. The things are going to bubble to the surface as you're working with them. And when you get those changes, just put a note into their profile, changing the description of what they're looking for. Because you're not going to remember from today to tomorrow what that 30-second conversation was as you were running into the car. Okay, where do I
Go to
fix
the
up to
next
you?
page.
So the next page is going to be, they're going to talk about maybe neighborhood insights. Let's see.
No, it's your home wish list is the next page.
Oh, that's your home. Okay, got it. Yep.
There you go.
Which is we've already been talking about.
Yep. So for this one, right, these are the questions they want you to ask these questions, right? The first one is the one Steve had mentioned, who's living in this house, right? What are the non-negotiables, right? I always say, what are the 5 must-haves that you need in your home? And if you had the name the top 5 non-negotiables, what would they be, right? So what would and I always ask 2, ask deeper questions, right? What does that mean to them, right? So if they say I want a big yard, why do you want a big yard, right? I want a place for my kids to play or the dog to go out. Okay, what you can even say what about that is important to you, right? Well, I want to spend more time, right? Because then there's a reason why you ask deeper questions beyond just the first one. And the reason for that is sometimes you're not gonna be able to find a home with their 5 must-haves, right? Especially right now, the inventory is awful. But if I know that they want a big yard, and let's just say there's a home nearby a park, right, that offers the same things that they wanted the reason for that big yard for, like place for their kids to play, or but if that park is like 5 minutes down the street, well, maybe that can take place of that big yard that they were looking for, right? So having the reasons why is very important, not just so go deeper on the questions that you ask on this page.
And by asking deeper questions too, it's going to bring you closer and closer to that buyer. It's going to build more. It's going to really strengthen your relationship because you're going to get to know them on a deeper level. And I love the one that they have towards the bottom of the screen here. When people visit your home, what do you want it to say about you? I love that question, right? Like by them answering that question, that's going to give you such great insight into exactly the type of home that they're looking for. Okay, let's move forward to the next one. So neighborhood insights. So within Command, so we're going to talk with them a lot about the neighborhoods that they are interested in, right? And in our neighborhoods and in our communities, things can change drastically by just moving a quarter mile in any direction. So it's important to understand, like for instance, if whoever's in Rhode Island, if you just even take the city of Warwick, there's so many neighborhoods in Warwick. And I know a lot of the Massachusetts towns are the same. There's so many neighborhoods. They all have a different personality. They all have a different feel to them. So really diving in deep as to where, if they just say, well, I want to be in Warwick. Okay, but where in Warwick, right? Let's talk about the location and the neighborhoods that might really support where you want to be, how close you want to be to the stores or the train or what have you. So really diving in deep and getting into the exact location, and then using neighborhood insights to be able to help them understand what the average listing price is, selling price is exactly. Where are you laughing?
I'm laughing because, okay, so if the people from Rhode Island will understand this, if they're looking at a house in Warwick, do they want to be in the landing zone or the takeoff zone of the airport?
And that. Have all of you, has anybody created a neighborhood snap in Command before? Is it worth, Maggie and Steve, is it worth just doing a quick one just to show how it works? Yeah,
Yeah, I can
let's
bring
do it.
one up.
All right, you do it.
If you still have the buyer presentation up, you can just replace the one they got in there.
I'll be right back.
Don't forget to share your screen.
I gotta get to the page first.
Yeah, you can't just share your screen anymore with this particular account. I don't know why.
Yeah, we have to talk to Brooke about this. So I'm actually my own client, so let's go open me up.
Oh no, I think, Steve, what we should be showing is we should be showing how to add this particular insight into their presentation.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to take them back and set up a whole.
No, because we're talking about the presentation here. Let's keep it there, just so,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's go back to the
So they can
presentation.
see how to add it into their presentation. It's a little known section of designs too.
I have to say, I love this because I think like the Command is like, it's so powerful. There's so many things that you can do in Command. And even for me, this is like a great.
So open the buyer presentation, Steve, please.
Yep.
And go to the neighborhood insights page.
Come on.
It's right, 16, page 16. There we go. All right, cool. So in order to show them, you know how to do this part?
I don't know how to do this one. This one's new to
Okay.
me.
Great. So if you go down to, so select one of those Barton Hill areas there. Yeah. Select the actual. Yeah, great. If you go over to the KWLS button in designs. The KWLS button underneath elements.
I have to move the pictures.
Oh, yeah. Seriously. So usually people go in here just to replace listings and things like that, but there is snapshots right at the top. So if you select snapshots from here, you can actually select neighborhoods or by postal codes. I personally like the postal codes better. So I'll choose a postal code, right? And then type it in. And it's going to give me the stats for that neighborhood and the blocks to put in here. So it'll pop up eventually. There you go. And so because you have that selected, you can just replace that with that. I think you just did add instead of replace. I do that
Yeah,
like
give me a
all the
second.
time.
Here we go.
So that is how you place it. So use the KWL in there. The snapshots exist in there to do that with. So.
See, like I said, even the instructors learn things at every one of these classes.
It's one of my
So, yeah.
favorite things to use here. Because you can use this stuff in just regular marketing as well, but this is how you do it for your presentation.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, you want to take it back to the slides?
Yeah.
Or
Stop that one.
A quick question.
yeah.
On those slides where you replace the you just the thing you just did, the other choices for slides, they had like information on them.
Mhm.
Would you want to use one of those because of that information on there, or?
You could, but the information underneath, but that the actual page is asking for does not match what's in there. The other pieces in there are actually really good for some of the other, like Marcus said, you can use that for marketing pieces. There's a bunch of other marketing pieces in the buyer section and designs that really lend themselves to the other ones. In this case, it just really wants you to replace the map with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
But-
is just different information from down there.
Yes.
So,
Some of that's already in, but it's not in that format, right? So you'll have to type those in here.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So I have a question. Means you show me in the neighborhood in the some buyer presentation and go to the some design and then post some image and then replace that on how to do that. Just briefly again and explain for that one.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the question.
Yeah, so just repeat some in this process in the how to replace some neighborhood and the post one.
So you're going to replace the neighborhood in the first one? Is that what you said in the first box?
So yeah, I mean, we're replacing the neighborhoods on this page, and you're going to replace them. If you're using this page, you can replace them with neighborhoods in the areas that your buyer is hopefully looking in, right? So in the initial conversation, before you have your appointment with your buyer, like when you're making the appointment, one of the things you're going to be asking is, what areas are you looking in, right? So you should have a good idea of what neighborhoods you'll be replacing in here.
Did that answer your question, Jennifer? Okay, and if it didn't, you can even type if you type it in the chat too. Okay. Perfect. Jacqueline, did you have another question or did you just not put your hand down after your last one? Okay, perfect.
Here we go.
And and what you all should do like this afternoon or again over the weekend is go in and play with this, right? You're not going to break it. Just go in and muss around with your buyer presentation. I mean, this is something you should have ready to go. You shouldn't be doing this like the hour before your buyer presentation and realizing that you're not sure what goes in here and now you're in a little bit of a panic. So absolutely spend some time this afternoon or over the weekend and create your buyer presentation. So when you are working with somebody, you can then the only thing you might need to do, you're going to get a lot of the static information in there, and you may just need to change neighborhoods based on that particular buyer, but at least you know how to do it. So go in and play with it so you're super comfortable and can get it done on the fly. All right, where are we going now? So this page is awesome, right? Just talking about how buying a home works and talking with part of your buyer consultation is the purpose is for you to educate your buyer on the process of buying a home. You may be working with a first-time home buyer who's never done this before, right? For us as realtors, this becomes like second nature to us. And we sometimes forget that the person sitting across the table from us has never done this before and they have no idea how any of this works. So taking the time to go through the whole home buying process with them. And again, that just is going to add to your value, right? There's going to add to how they see you and the value that you're providing them. So when it does come time to talk about your professional fee for service, they're like, oh my gosh, right? Jacqueline has so much knowledge. Like, I don't feel like I can buy a house without Jacqueline because she has so much knowledge. She answered all my questions. She knew exactly the neighborhoods that I was looking for. She was able to pull in information for me. So all of this is just going to compound into, wow, I cannot do this without this person. The best compliment I ever got in the form of a review was years and years ago. It was like 2013 or something. And the buyer that I finished the transaction with left me a review and said, if you are purchasing a home, you cannot not do it without Rhonda. And it was like he was like, you need her. And this was somebody who he had homes all over the world. Like he had probably at least 3 or 4 homes. He was an executive for like a major brand, and this came from him saying, if you're looking for real estate, you need her in your life. You cannot not buy a house without her. It was the best compliment I ever got, and it was because he called, I answered his questions, we sat down, we went through the whole process. He was buying something in Rhode Island for the first time. Every state has different rules. Every state's a little bit different. So even if they say like, oh, well, I have a property in Florida, I have a property in California, it's different in Massachusetts, it's different in Rhode Island, it's different in New Hampshire, it's different in Maine. Talk with them about the ins and outs of buying property in that state and show them the value and your expertise. You are setting yourself up as the local expert in their eyes. And this presentation, it does it for you. You just have to go in and customize it to yourself.
And you walk it through. Yeah. Never assume your buyer understands the process. Just don't. Even if they have a home from before, right? For most home buyers out there, they haven't bought a home in like 10 years, right? Like because most people won't move it until every 10 years anyway. So never assume they know, right? Like I think, I mean, new home buyers have no idea, but like never assume they know the entire process, because they'll forget about things. They'll forget about closing costs. They'll forget about all the other little things. And you don't want them to be surprised by some of that stuff later. Set up the expectations ahead of time.
Exactly, because sometimes it works not in your favor the other way. If you didn't go through something and they're just like, well, you didn't tell me that. Oh, I wish you like the worst thing that like realtors want to hear is, oh, I wish I knew that. I wish you told me that.
I didn't know I had to bring another check to closing, like on top of the money that I like. That is not something to surprise your buyer with. Let me tell you.
Well, the big problem is they all watch HGTV, so they think they know everything about buying a house. They look at 3, they pick one, boom, they move in. And I've been licensed for 11 years. I've never seen that happen. It's never that easy.
Never that easy.
But you have to take them through this outline so they know what to expect.
Yep. And let's talk for a moment about getting pre-approved. So number 2 there is getting pre-approved for a loan. Who knows the difference between a pre-qualification letter and a pre-approval letter? Does anybody know that they are actually 2 different things? A lot of times they're just used in exchange of each other, but they're actually quite different. Does
Pre-approval is
anybody-
stronger. A qualification says this person meets a certain criteria, but the pre-approval says like this person qualifies for this specific loan and they're ready to go as soon as they find the property.
Right, so in the pre-approval process, so in a pre-qualification process, the lender typically has had a conversation with the buyer and will tell them how much house they can afford. But the pre-approval process means that they've actually gathered the documentation, they've gone through their verification of an income and employment, they've actually verified all that information to be true. So having a pre-approval letter means that the lender actually, and a lot of times, some of the lenders, they'll actually have it already go through an underwriting process. So that way, if you say, no, my buyer's been pre-approved, meaning that that they are ready to go. And we just need to find them the house. Yes, Pankaj, you have a question, and I hope I said your name right. And if I didn't, I'm terribly sorry.
No, you did it perfectly. You said it perfectly right.
Oh,
So my
yay.
question, thank you. So my question here is for commercial properties, right? Most of the banks, when I'm dealing with the multifamily homes kind of thing with the buyers.
Okay, yep.
So most of the banks, they hesitate to provide the pre-approval. They say pre-qualification based on the property address. Is that a good thing for the buyer, or is like when somebody is looking, like the seller agent is looking or seller is looking for the buyers, do they really, and buyers for the multifamily or the commercials, do they really need the pre-approval or do they need only the pre-qualification? They are good with it.
That's a great question. And my guess is, and I'm not a lender, but my guess in that instance is that in a commercial property where they're likely using the income to get all of the parameters around the pre-qualification, if they haven't identified the exact property yet and haven't run those numbers, that maybe that's why the banks are saying, we'll just give you a pre-approval right now. And once the property is truly identified and you're moving down the process, because it might go into play a little bit for what that income is. Because I think it's just a different scenario because you're going to have income coming in. Maggie, do you know anything differently?
I'm not commercial is not my strong suit. I will definitely recommend, but I think you might have hit the nail on the head. I think because there's so many factors regarding a commercial property, they may only do pre-calls at first.
And you can ask, there are lenders that, if you have a lender that you already have a relationship with, they'll be happy to tell you. And also, I know we have 2 very strong commercial agents in our market center in Keller Williams Coastal that we can put you in touch with to ask those questions. If you can also check in with your leadership, you may have somebody that
I
is
would
very,
Yeah,
that's just very experienced, and they'll be happy to let you know their.
like we have a commercial division of ours. Yeah, ask your team leader, and they will probably have someone that you can talk to help you out with that.
Would you mind texting me personally that commercial agent number or in the group, whatever you think?
Absolutely. I'll throw it in the chat at our break. There's 2 of them, and absolutely reach out to them. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next page. So the affiliated business arrangement disclosure. How many of you are familiar with Keller Mortgage? Knowing that we have Keller Mortgage here. Anybody? Maggie. So Keller Mortgage. This is a service. It's another alternative to lending that you can offer up to your clients. A lot of times with Keller Mortgage, they offer very competitive rates, and also there's incentives to get money back at closing, etc. They're definitely something that you should check out, be familiar with. There's a couple of states that they're not. New York and Canada does not allow for, it's not approved in those states. So you would need to, this is in the, it's in the buyer presentation. So you have to make a decision if you want to include in information about Keller Mortgage, you have to keep this page in. If you didn't, you're not obligated to. You just need to remember to take it out. And if you're in New York or Canada, take it out. But Keller Mortgage, you should absolutely do some research on their services, what they offer, because in some instances for buyers who may have some trouble getting approved, they may be able to offer an alternate solution to them. In order, it's an added value because you can only go through Keller Mortgage if there is a Keller Williams agent in the transaction. So I know we're talking about buyers today. However, if you are listing a home, the fact that we have Keller Mortgage is also, it makes you stand up against other listing agents, because even though you're the listing agent, if a buyer comes in to buy the property, they would be able to go through Keller Mortgage because you are a KW agent in the sale. And in many cases, it's a little bit less for buyers to enter into the closing costs associated with it. So for a buyer who every dollar counts and they're worried about closing costs and fees and all of that stuff, Keller Mortgage may be a really good solution for them. Any questions on that? So just know, if you want to include, if that intrigues you and you want to include that in your as a service that you offer, just make sure you keep this affiliated business arrangement disclosure in the agreement.
They do have some good packages, like they have 0 cost loans and things like that.
Yeah.
So there are some things that they do offer that is very unique. It's just to provide Keller Williams agents another tool to help with the transaction and to help with
Exactly.
the clients. Yeah. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
you have to use them. They are there. It makes life easier if your clients are on your mobile app. It just says it right there. So instead of having, if they just want things easy and quick, they might click the button and they might go through it. So there's things there for that.
Okay, great, awesome. So the next page comes up about knowing the value and your experience. So this is where numbers come into play. Now, many of you are new agents, so don't worry, don't fret. You can use the numbers of your market center, right? You're affiliated with Keller Williams, here, Coastal, Greater Boston, whatever your market center is, you can use the numbers of your market center here. If you don't know the numbers of your market center, ask your team leader, and they can get those numbers for you. So that way you can plug them into your presentation. If you work on a team, use your team. You can use your team numbers, right? So just because maybe you don't have a lot of years behind you and you don't have a lot of transactions behind you yet, that is the beauty, that is the value of being at Keller Williams, at one of the largest real estate companies in the world, is that we have a track record. And so use that to your benefit. Okay, and use those numbers. So another thing for you guys all to do later today is, if you don't know your market center numbers, reach out to your team leader and put your numbers out there. I know that on our social media pages just this week, in Keller Williams Coastal, we posted our year-end numbers for the last 12 months of how we did, how many transactions we did, how much we sold in real estate. So your leadership can get you those numbers super quickly. Go in and plug them in. That way you have them. And again, if you get a buyer appointment, you're not struggling and trying to get a hold of somebody on Sunday at 10 o'clock to give you those numbers. So do this all ahead of time so it's ready to go.
This is your real opportunity to shine. What is your wall of value? Why is someone going to use you and nobody else? What makes you special? What makes you different from any other person? They might want to use you instead of someone else. Put it in there. Find something that'll make you stand out a little bit more. What service do you offer that no one else can?
Okay, great. Okay, so then next up, what's the next slide, Steve? Okay, so how about if we
break, Rhonda?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think we probably need a break. So why don't we take a break and then come back. We still have about an hour and a half together. So why don't we take a 15 minute?
Let's do a 10-minute break, I think. Should we good?
Okay,
11:15, come back.
10:45. No, that's a long break. We'll do 10:35, 10 minutes. Everybody be back
Oh.
at 10:35. Steve was gonna let y'all go get lunch. All right, guys, we'll see you back in 10.
Steve, if you stop sharing, one of the someone asked to repeat how to add and replace a map. I'll share that real quick during the break.
Great.
Hold on a moment. Share my screen. Oh, the fact that I cannot share my screen, it drives me nuts.
It's not letting you share?
Well, I can't, but I can only share like individual things. I can't just share my screen, so it makes things so much harder. Okay.
Hold on a second. It's the,
So like I can only share like a tab or like I cannot share my whole screen, which drives me crazy. All right, so I'm gonna head to designs. I'm gonna go to print. Buyer presentation. Use. You can do it. I know you can. Here we go. It's 16. Okay. So this replace thing works for any element, just so people know, right? You can always add a specific element by pressing the plus button, but the replace button is what saves you tremendous amounts of time. But for this specifically, right? So we're going to go to KWLS and we're going to hit snapshots. Now you can either do this by neighborhood or postal code. I'm not a big fan of neighborhoods, so I'm going to use postal codes, and I'll just use that. Come on, baby. You can do it. You'll have to excuse me. I don't know what it is. Zoom and command here. So slow. All right, so I've got my options here. I'm trying to replace the map option, so I'm going to select what I want to replace. I'm going to highlight and just hit that little, looks like a recycling button there. And now I've replaced it. And now I can go ahead and change that to whatever I'm doing. So the map here. Oh, that's good. Somebody asked earlier what these other ones are good for. Now it goes back up to KW. That wasn't doing that before. So let me show you one that's good for, just because I'm here, I'm doing this. This is like, hey guys, you get a free tech class. Just quickly, it's in listings. If you go to the listing section and you go to, I think it's neighborhood stamps. Yeah, you get all of these here. And these are great ones. So you just use one of these. And then this is what these particular designs are good for. So just replace this with your local area and then go post it to Facebook, go send it out to people, go use it for an email, and you're good to go. So that's that.
And how do you get that information again? I know you already showed it to us, but we're trying to do it more than once. Go to that little button there.
yeah.
I just realized I was muted too. There we go. Like talking to you and you can't hear me. So yeah, so in here, once you got your design open, right? You go to
Okay.
KWLS, the little button that says KWLS. And we're not pulling up a listing here, we're pulling up a snapshot.
Okay.
Mhm. And then you can, if you click in the box, it'll say, hey, you want a neighborhood or you want a postal code?
Hey, Jen.
I like postal codes, like I said.
Nice.
I type it in, it pops up, and I select the one that I'm trying to replace. So I'm replacing this one,
Right.
this one, right there. And then I just have to, adjust these. Right, so that, and now I'm done. So now I can just download this and put this up on Facebook. Or into an email and send it out, or whatever I'm trying to do. Right, so these are really actually pretty helpful to doing some pretty cool marketing for listings, trying to get people to buy or sell.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. I'm eating my breakfast. My strawberries, my carrots this morning.
Maggie,
Hmm,
do we have a meeting at 1:30 this afternoon, or has that been canceled?
it's canceled. Oh, I wanted to check. Because we have to, buyer's guide is coming up supposedly. That's frustrating. Okay. So you guys are in your typical office today, are you?
No, once a month, we have a leadership sit down,
Oh, nice.
and it's at 1 o'clock. So I figured, well, rather than try to rush up here at noontime, I just came up that, this morning, and I missed my wood stove. It's freezing in here.
How cold is it in Rhode Island today?
I think we're back to having a heat wave. Hold on a second. It's up to 16 degrees.
Oh, hey. That's pretty good.
But when I took my dog out for his walk at 5:30 this morning, it was 4 degrees. And the wind was blowing. This was one of those days that I'm not happy I have a dog.
Oh, yes, I have one too. I was like, Dale, get inside. It's cold.
Yeah, I'm not throwing the frisbee anymore. Get in the damn house.
Nope. It's 12 where I am. Anybody from places north or Vermont? Any maniacs here? Anything? Trying to see who's at the lowest temp today. They're all on break.
Yeah.
I somehow lost my mug in the office yesterday. I don't know how. I gotta find it.
Did you get mad and throw it at somebody?
No, well, I never it's one of those smart mugs, so it's expensive. It's one of those mugs that keeps the whatever you're doing warm.
Yeah, yeah.
Was kind of wild when I first got it because I had to update the firmware on my mug when I first bought it. I was like, where do I live? It was the weirdest experience, but the yeah, it's missing. I don't know where it went. I must have put it down somewhere in the office. So today I jonesed one of the offices mug today. But I need my tea. Did you go to family reunion?
No, not this year.
Oh no?
No.
Not many people are. Sadly, I am. But I'm not gonna see anybody while I'm there. Looks like.
Yeah, no, I was leaning heavily towards it, but I just got too many crazy things going on. Normally I'm down in Florida in February.
Oh, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go till March or April this year.
Yeah.
It's I've been warned off by my niece. By my niece who's a doctor. She said it's still kind of crazy down there.
It's funny, I feel kind of invincible because I went to Disney in September and I came and I was didn't get it. So we were like, yeah, I could do anything now.
It's funny. I mean, I had all the vaccinations. I've got boxes of masks. I wear gloves when I go grocery shopping. I did not go out to indoor social events for a year and a half. And back in October, I tested positive. Never got sick.
No.
Never got sick, but I tested positive.
Oh, so you're one of the people who got it and they just didn't know.
Yeah. And it was funny because the only reason I got tested, I started to get a scratchy throat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, my sinuses were a little congested, but I just attributed that to, seasonal allergy. And then when the scratchy throat popped up, I'm like, okay, let me just get tested. The scratchy throat was gone the next day. But, I'm in the target audience. I'm over 65 years old and I'm fat, so I'm not taking any chances.
Oh, Jessica, the second time. Ugh. We had a couple people in the office who got it twice. Stinks, but I don't know. I have no idea how, we've had regular colds in the house.
Yeah.
And we've gotten, oh my goodness. Jessica. So was pregnant, so I'm hoping that means that we have a new baby girl or boy. So congratulations. Boy or girl, Jessica? Can't leave me hanging. Eleanor.
Oh, 6-month-old baby.
6 months. Yeah, it's tough, 7 weeks early. Oh my God. Surprise. Yeah, that's why we're kind of so surprised we haven't gotten it in our household yet, because I have a 4.5.
I was going to say, you've got a little kid.
In pre-K. She's in the public schools in pre-K. And then we were just we're just sitting here waiting for it. And she's gotten regular colds, and we've gotten the full-blown tests for her because the school, if you have a cold at school now, they just send you home and they say, go get a PCR.
Yeah.
And every single time negative. So she just gets regular colds.
All right, I'll be right back. Let me go find someone. Ugh.
That's okay, Jessica. I feel ya. But congratulations.
I know I wanted to wrap myself. I wanted to wrap myself in a blanket in our tree yesterday. So Maggie, how's the family? How's everything?
Everything's good. Everybody's healthy. We were just explaining everybody's good. No problems.
Great.
Can't complain.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
My daughter is sassy and full of opinions, and
How old is she? Is she 3, 4?
4.5.
4.5. Oh my God. They get big fast.
They do. the last week or so, she's become very Velcro, though she's been eating so much. Like she ate like a whole chicken yesterday. We were like, what you
Oh my
I'm so
God.
hungry. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like a whole bag of salad, like most of a chicken. We're like, okay.
That's
Like,
hilarious. Oh my
we're
God.
like, okay, we're gonna need new clothes soon, obviously. This is the growth spurt if I've ever seen one.
That's great. Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Mm. Do, do. Are you going to family reunion, Rhonda?
I am.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm excited. Are you going?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very
Yep.
excited.
I know we were just talking about tickets. I have like my tickets on hold. I just have to go pull the trigger.
I can't wait. It's been too long for it to be
I
for one
know.
of these things.
I know. I'm so excited. It'll be so great just to see everybody and to be back in person again. And
I get energy.
like,
I need that like kick in the butt because I didn't get it last year. So it's
I know.
have it.
I know this is my first year attending as leadership, so I'm excited about,
Yeah.
you know, kind of attending in that capacity.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I've been going for a long time now, but every year I try to focus on something different. Like, what is the thing that I want to come out with, right? Is it
Yeah.
leadership, or do I want more stuff for my agents? Do I want technology? Like, where my focus is for that year. So it's always good to like pick something and then work with it, which is nice.
Yeah, that's great. Do we want to get started? I know Steve will be right back.
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
All right.
All right.
Okay. So,
It's role
So-
model time.
it is role model time. So do we want to break them up into groups, you think, Maggie, at this point?
Yeah, I think we role model, we role play. Okay, so we're going to page 14 in the script book. All right, so I guess we're gonna just role model the page on the script book.
Okay.
And then we're gonna have them go do it themselves on page 15. So does anybody need this script book? I'll throw it in the chat again for everybody here, because you're gonna need it. So you guys are gonna be practicing page 15.
Let me see if I can find the book here.
If you need to, I can pull it up. I've got it.
Oh, I think I got it right here.
You break my computer, you're buying me a new one.
So we said page 14. Is this the right page, Maggie? Is this what the page that we're supposed to be on here?
Page. Goals for agreement exclusivity. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
We'll role play this, and then we want them to do the same. Looks like.
Okay, so the one thing that, just to remind everybody that the purpose of the buyer consultation that you are going on is to find out what your buyer's needs are, help them, talk them through the process, and get your buyer's agreement signed by them. Okay, so that is what you want to close the appointment with. That is what you want to walk away with, is you want to have that agreement signed by the end of that appointment. Okay. Okay, so the following script details a simple way to obtain an exclusive agreement called the buyer's agreement. This does say to check for your market center for a copy. I think most market centers are just using the one that is issued by their state association of realtors. So definitely, check that out. Okay, so do we want to go through this? Who wants to go through some of these things? So here it says, all I ask in exchange for my superior customer service promise is that you will agree to work with me exclusively. Does that sound fair? If they say yes, you can say, great, okay, can we sign and shake on that? Now, one thing that you all want to do before your first buyer's consultation is you want to go and pull down the agreement that you're going to be using it. And I would suggest reading through it, highlighting anything you don't understand in it. It is a legally binding document, so you want to make sure that you are comfortable explaining all of the terms to the person that you are talking with. And so if you don't understand some of those terms, just simply ask. Go to your team leader and ask the question. Go to your OP and ask the question, whatever the makeup is in your market center, but make sure that you understand everything in there, because you may get a question on it. Somebody may say, well, what does that mean? And if you're like, oh gosh, I don't know what that means, it's going to just come across as, why are you asking me to sign something that you don't understand, right?
Right,
So you,
exactly. And that goes
So-
for all your forms, right? It looks really bad if you go like, oh, I'm not sure, actually.
no idea what that means. So, go through it now, go through it this weekend, and then just ask questions, ask questions. What does this clause mean? What does this mean? In what situation would this come into play? The more you can be really comfortable saying, oh, that means this, that's just building the confidence that they have in you, and for them to not be apprehensive about signing an agreement with you. So what happened? So in this one, they kind of made it really easy up there in the top, that somebody just would say, yeah, that sounds fair to me. So what would happen if somebody said, oh, you know what, I'm still not really sure about signing the agreement. So what could you tell them at that point that would maybe ease their concerns? Well, I guess so how do you find out what their concerns are? How do you find out what's holding them back from signing the agreement? Anybody?
Anybody have any ideas?
So generally, I hear that objection, that exclusive agreement, they do not want to sign. How do is that like a buyer agreement? They sign it, that if they go with us and they buy the property with us, yes, we are eligible to get the commission. Exclusive, most of the buyers hesitate. Is
Right,
that
so-
the way we should go, exclusive only, or or not go with any other thing, or how do we do in that case?
Yeah, you want to be exclusive because you're going to be doing a lot of work for them. You're going to be, your promise to them as their exclusive agent is that they are going to be a priority for you, and you are going to, on a daily basis, be looking for homes that meet their criteria, depending on their timeline, and that you are going to be spending time and your resource of time on them to help them find a home. If they're not exclusive to you and they're working with, a bunch of different agents, you could be spending so much time with them, and then at the end of the day, they go and they buy the house with somebody else, and that other agent's going to get the commission because they're going to be the procuring cause. So if somebody has that objection and says, well, I just don't want to be exclusive, I want to have the opportunity to work with other agents, then as agents, it's up to us to let them know what the value is of having one exclusive agent in the process. And, you could say to them, listen, yes, it needs to be exclusive. It needs to be a win-win for both of us. I want to be able to give you my focused time to be able to help you find the home that you are looking for. And knowing that you're going to purchase through me and through me exclusively allows me to put that time aside to make sure that I can fulfill all of my duties as your exclusive agent. So that's number one. Secondly, you can turn around to them and say, if you work with me exclusively, then I or my team is going to do all the legwork for you, right? We're going to write down all the things that are important to you in finding a home, and I'm going to create a search for you. I'm going to send you listings If you see something, you are welcome to send it to me as well. But yet we're gonna already kind of preempt that. We know when things hit the market the minute they hit the market, and we're gonna make sure that you know about it and we know about it the minute it comes on the market. If you're working with several different agents, who are you calling? Who's this? It's going to become very confusing for you. If it's in one place, it's going to stay streamlined, and that's going to save you time down the road. And you just have to demonstrate to them that and then the next thing is we just need to ask them, what are your concerns? Why do you want to work with more than one agent? Right? And it may be because that's going to uncover the true objection, right? Just the objection that, well, I don't want to work exclusively with one agent. That doesn't tell you why. It doesn't tell you anything. So you need to go a little deeper. And again, it might be, well, if I go to the listing agent, I might get a better deal. And then, to have that conversation with them. Well, the listing agent represents the seller and the seller's best interest. You need somebody representing your best interest as the buyer, and you should have your own representation in that. So just by asking why, what concerns you, right? And if you answer that objection, okay, great. What else? What else concerns you about signing an exclusive agreement with me?
We call it isolating the objection, right?
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for blank, would you sign with me? Yes. Okay, great. So let's talk about blank, right? Whatever it is. And then, now, was I able to kind of help you assuage your sort of fears or hesitations? Can you see how it would be a benefit? You can actually go right to number 2 here. Could you see how it would be a benefit for you to have a professional looking out for your best interest as you search for your best home and negotiate to get the best deal? Great. This form allows me to do this. Let's give it a go, right? So you can go right into that second script right there as well.
Yeah.
And generally, what happens like with the agencies like Redfin, they provide the portion, if they are listing the property, they provide, if buyer comes to them and buy the property from them, they provide a portion of the commission back to them. So that concerns the buyers. And the smart buyers, they say, you know what, why I need to go with you? And if I buy the property from a Redfin, I will get a commission back from the Redfin. Can you do that if you want to be exclusive agent?
So can I ask you something, Pajaz? Sorry, Paige.
Pankaj,
Yeah, Paige. Yep. If you go directly to someone in Redfin, right? Who's representing you? Nobody, right? So I'm playing the agent here.
That's great. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah,
right. So the reason why you want a licensed or agent representing you is because you need someone in your corner to help negotiate you. Sure, you could save some money on the commission side of things, correct? Or getting some money back. However, if you don't have someone in your corner negotiating for you, you could lose far more on the actual transaction itself than you would lose if you worked with me. There's a net gain for you at the end of the day if you work with a professional who is in your corner negotiating for you.
Yeah, generally, I agree with you. Generally, in typical balanced market, it works. But nowadays, when every home is going out of the bid, so like there's a bidding war going on for every home, there's no room left for the negotiation. And buyers understanding it, that there's no room for the negotiation.
That's not necessarily true though, right? Yes, obviously, but highest is not always best. Highest is definitely not always best because there are other factors when it comes to buying and selling homes, right? You need someone when inevitably, right, there's going to be a fight over, how much the roof is going to be replaced or how much like the fireplace to be fixed or like fixing some of the properties. You're going to need somebody so it doesn't cost you $15,000 to replace the roof when you buy it. Right? It is more than just the initial offer. It is more than just that. So this is how I would phrase it exactly. Kirsten, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I know an agent, and the way she used to overcome that objection of people meeting her for the first time and kind of being, well, who are you? I don't know you. And these forms, she would kind of make it about the property. And I was wondering if you could do that. And so, she would ask them to sign for that particular house or that property, and then ease them into a relationship with her, a client relationship. And then by the second or third meeting, when they were comfortable with her and understood her value, then they were happy to sign the buyer agent agreement for her. And I was wondering what you think of that approach.
Yeah, I would say that, sometimes you have to take baby steps, and, if something along those lines to make them comfortable, you want the buyer's agreement, it lays out what your working relationship is going to be, and then it's there to protect all parties, right? So it's there to say what the roles are of each, because you don't want a buyer to enter into a buyer's agreement with an agent and then agent never calls them again, right? Now they're locked in with this agent. They can't get the agent to send listings. So it has to be win-win for everybody. And sometimes, right, relationships are not cut and dry. So sometimes if you need to massage it a little, or you say, you know what, let's just sign the agreement today. We're going to look at 3 houses. We'll just put those addresses down. We'll put just today's date down. And then let's meet again next week and let's talk about it again. See how you feel after working with me today. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, we'll sign one only for 30 days. If you're comfortable with me today, let's see as our relationship goes like that. I mean, that's not ideal. You want somebody to sign with you and work with you. Yet we're all human beings. And sometimes, you need to be flexible.
Also why that buyer presentation is so important, right? You're asking for this contract at the pretty much close to the end of the presentation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to show your value during your presentation so that there's less hesitation at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I know the importance of this buyer exclusive agreement. It has saved me a couple of deals. I've been in real estate for three and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a recurring cost with other agent, and it happens all the time. The buyer might be talking to other agent, and maybe other agents are offering them something, and they decide to change the agent. I know that it's really important to have that in place, and I always try to get that in place. But a lot of time, what I found is, when meeting with buyer on their first time, they don't really know you, right? Even you are referring from someone else, they don't really know you. They don't really know your experience, and I just find it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to have a buyer to lock into a buyer, with that agreement. Because when I think on their side as a buyer, do I want to sign an agreement with this agent, meeting them on the first time? Even he present me all this, how great he is, and all his experience. I'm a buyer. I still don't feel comfortable. So what I do sometimes is I actually still will go out with them for 1 or 2 times to see houses, and then I will, come back to them and ask them to sign the agreement. I don't know if you have different experience or how you, what will you do? I actually don't like to ask buyer to sign the agreement on their first meeting. I personally like to take them out, just show them, what I know, how I take care of my clients. Kind of work with them on 1 or 2 meetings, show them to 1 or 2 houses before I ask them to sign the agreement.
Yeah, and I think, I'll step in and see if you can talk too, but I think that, ideally you want to have it signed from the beginning, yet I've heard of other agents that do that. And if that works for you and you just understand what the risk is of that, it's also about being comfortable, and maybe in the interim, if you're a newer agent, you go down that realm. However, you don't want to get caught in the habit of then just never asking for the agreement, because it's a little bit uncomfortable. Even for the what we described as safety reasons, etc. If you are sitting down and taking the time to talk with your buyer or talk with somebody who is considering working with you as an agent right from the beginning, it shows your value that you care about them and that you want to learn more about what they are looking for. So even by setting time up before you go do that first listing, just even meet at a coffee place for an hour and sit down and talk, it's showing that you're going that extra step to really learn about what they want, what's important to them. And, you know, they may say, well, you know what, can we just go look at houses today? We want to see your style and then we'll sign the agreement later. Then I would say, yeah, go look at the houses. And then, but you want to have that plan and you don't want to just out of not being comfortable asking somebody to sign, to use that to keep allowing yourself to put yourself out there without an agreement. That's my opinion. Did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to add in, you know, you have to explain to the buyer that, you know, this is the agreement between the two of us. This is the only document out of all the documents you're going to have to sign. This is the only one that protects me. I will show you one house. I'll take you on one road trip, but I will not take you on a second road trip unless we have an agreement between us, because I invest a lot of time researching houses, researching you, you know, and it's not worth my time if you don't want to hire me. So we'll do the trial run. I'll do a 5-day or I'll do a 7-day, you know, buyer agreement. And if in that 7 day, if at the end of that 7 days, if they still don't want to sign an extension, it's time to part ways. Because you're not their entertainment. This is your job. And if you were in any other business, you would have a contract.
No, I
So-
understand completely how important it is. There could be a procuring cost with the agent. But sometimes I have buyer actually came to me because the other agent asked him to sign the agreement. They just came to me and they said they don't feel comfortable signing the agreement. And we end up closing the deal with that buyer. I didn't ask them to sign the agreement either, because they told me they don't feel comfortable. So I took them out 2-3 times and we closed the deal. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But sometimes what I do is I just take them out for 2-3 times, maybe not more than 3, definitely not more than 3. And then I shall go back to them and ask them to sign the agreement. And if they don't, I will reconsider if I should drop the client.
Yeah.
And two, like, if they don't feel comfortable, there's usually a reason that they don't, like, they just don't trust you yet or something along those lines. In that case too, like, you know, you might want to try something like the, you know, a clause where it says, like, if you are not happy with my services, then everybody can, then we can just walk away, right? Everybody can just walk away, no problems. The guarantee, or you just do it, like I said, for one property or the 2 properties, just so that you know, they get used to how you work and then they feel more comfortable, right? You know, something like that might actually be really, really well, like Kirsten said, right? That like the 1 or 2 things that you're going to do that day, right? And then move in afterwards, right? When they're not comfortable, that means that whoever sat down with them did not kind of go through, like, it just wasn't enough for them. And then sometimes you're going to run into that. And so you can do it for 1 or 2 deals and then try again later to get a longer contract if you need to.
And I make it easy for them. I tell them right up front, you know, if at any point you decide, you know, that you don't want to work with me, send me an email, send me a text. You can call if you'd like. You don't have to call. You can just send me a quick, you know, let's cancel this agreement, and I rip it up and move on.
Yep. Steve Gendel actually shared with us. He actually has like a physical contract he like just puts in front of the people, and it basically says that it's a 2-way thing. It's like, if I don't like you, then I can dissolve it, and if you don't like me, you can dissolve it.
Well, you have to be polite. You don't want to say, if I don't like you, if I don't think we can work together, if I choose not to work with you.
Yes, exactly.
Because let me tell you, sometimes there's nothing better than firing a client.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes it hurts and sometimes you're grateful.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say sorry.
Sometimes when you restructure your business or refine your business, you have to let some client go. That's what I see.
Deanna, yes, they can string you along. I see the comment here. It happens sometimes. And it's why you set expectations up front a lot of times. Pankaj, do you have another question?
Just very quick question. So remember I explained about this Redfin kind of agency giving back the money to the client. Is that legal or is that particular broker to broker? How does that work? Is that allowed by the Keller Williams or is that legal? Or how it works?
Depends on your state, but there is a buyer agent can give credit, a commission credit back to the buyer. It has, but I will definitely put this out there. It has to, especially because I know this from Massachusetts, it has to be done the correct way or it's not legal.
Right.
Yeah, same in Rhode Island.
Yeah, so
It has to be
disclosed.
on the, it
Yeah.
has to be on the closing disclosure.
Has to be disclosed for us, has to be in the PNS, has to be disclosed right away, has to be, and then it has to show up in the closing disclosure. Yes. All
It
those
is broker, it's at so all this, like all this legal stuff should be put at the broker level, or it can be go by agent and agent by agent.
Speak to your broker.
Like-
Each broker's got a different opinion on that.
Okay, so broker cannot, so suppose somebody comes to me and say, hey, can you give me half % commission back? And if suppose I want to say yes or no, whatever, but do I have the authority to say yes or no, or do I need
Ask
to
your
go to
broker.
the broker? Okay.
Ask
Yeah,
your
you want to
broker.
ask your broker and that you want to
Yeah.
ask your broker if there is a policy that for some reason that it's
We
not,
have
that
a
it's not
policy
allowed.
here in our office that if you want to take less than 2%, you have to ask us. And we usually say yes, because there's usually a good reason. But but one of it is too, like, we might need to help you defend your commission, right?
No, I understand. I
Yeah.
completely understand.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not saying that we should drop the commission. I'm asking what the Redfin and all these agents are doing. Are they doing the stuff legally or
yes,
they are
it's
just
legal. It's
bypassing
legal.
the
If done correctly, it's legal. Yes.
Can I make a comment on this?
Yes.
I think, I mean, for a lot of new agents out there, they probably trying to take a discount and get clients. But to be honest, our expertise, our experience, we shouldn't try to cut
I agree.
we should look at ourselves, what we can offer, what we can do better than other agents, instead of offering clients something and trying to retain
Agree.
a client.
Agree.
If a client comes to me and tell me to take part of my commission, I immediately drop the client. I tell them, this is what I do for my client. I think my time is much worth it than, the commission. So our office always teach us, you pay, you determine your pay. Okay, if you're going to give a discount to your client, that means I forget what they said. That means like you determine your own value.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm so with you there, right? A lot of people are so willing to just give up their commission, but that's why, like, in the listing, I think they probably talked about this in the listing presentation, right? If a seller asks you to reduce your fee, and they say, well, this person was willing to do it, and you say, well, if they're so willing to give up their own money, what's it going to come to when they're negotiating for your money, right? There's a value there. We are worth more than just finding a home. We are worth the amount of money that we will save people by in how well we negotiate and how well we go through the process. Because it's so many points of the deal. It's not just at the offer. It's at the offer. It's at the home inspection. It's at the PNS. It's at the close. Like, it's everywhere that we are involved in, that we can save our clients money on either the list side or the buy side. We are so worth it, and we need to defend our commission because we are worth it. That's why that woman that I was talking about earlier at the very beginning, that's why she got 3% every single time, because her value was so high that her buyers were willing to pay her directly, right? So, remember that, right? And it's on how you deliver the script to the objection, right? Like Pankaj, but when they were saying, like, well, Redfin will just do it if I go directly to them. Yeah, but that's because you're not represented. They know that when they do that, like, they're gonna win the money on the negotiation aspect. That's why, right? It's to help the seller in the end, not to help the buyer. So there's a reason for that, and have those conversations about why you are so important. All right.
Right. Yeah. Be the agent that gets 3% every time. Don't be the
Yes.
agent that
I want to hear someone
that's
else get
very
that.
quick. Yeah, don't be the agent that's very quick to give their commission away, you know, all the time. We had an agent had sat down with me and said, like he's a newer agent and had just said, well, maybe I'll just be the agent that is like the 4% listing agent. So I'm going to get like, how do you feel about that? And I'm like, no, we need to work on your value then. If that's going to be your value proposition, that I'm only charge 4% commission on listings, that's not, you're not looking at it the right way. You're not a discount broker. You're not going to lead with, I'm going to just give you the best deal to get you to work with me. Let's work on what your value is, right? And how you're going to set yourself up to be the agent who gets 3% all the time, because people can't sell houses. They don't want to buy without you because you're that important to them. Okay. Okay, so I think at this time we can either break into some groups and have you guys practice some of this language and talking about buyer in the buyer consultation, and practice getting that agreement signed. So we can do that for maybe about 5 minutes, put you guys into groups to do that. Then from there, we're going to talk a little bit more. We already talked about the Keller Williams app. So we can just talk about that a little bit more. And then also where you go to, once your clients have that app and they're looking through homes, where you can go and find that data on what they're looking for and how that can help you in the process. Does that sound good?
All right, let's get those breakout rooms. 4, 3.
Stop sharing.
Okay. Okay, so you guys are gonna work on this page 14. So where you guys are going to close for that buyer agreement. Your script partners, try to throw some objections at them. Throw a couple at them and see, and to help them sort of work on the scripts on how to for the objection handling. Okay, so
guys, again, I know mostly everybody now is again off camera. If you can just come on camera, so that way if you're in the room with somebody, like there's not one person that's just sitting there looking at a bunch of names. I know a lot of people don't always like to do this part, but this is great for you guys to get some practice together on the language and objections and all of that stuff. So take yourselves off camera so that way you can be face to face with the agents that you're in the room with. Okay.
How many people do we have?
We have 21 people.
I got it, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Person. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Maggie.
Yep. So accept your invitations. Wait for a second too. If you don't have anybody there, I will be moving people in and out of rooms just so everybody's got a partner. So go ahead.
Yeah, but basically our own version of
That baby's a cutie.
Oh, thank you.
I think we're all back. How'd it go? What do you guys think? Has questions, problems?
Nice chatting.
I'm sorry, I was alternating on Zoom between my phone and the laptop. Can you guys send in the chat again the script?
Yes,
Please, thank you.
no problem. Anybody else? How'd it go, guys?
We got a lot of good information about, the importance of signing the, the agreement for sure, like as soon as possible.
How do you guys do with the objection handling in the practice? I see Robert nodding his head. Does that mean you did all right?
Yeah, I was working with Sarah, and she did really well. I threw a couple of objections at her, and she responded like a pro. So well done to her.
Excellent.
Yeah, the same, the two people I had in my room, I threw an objection to each one, and they handled it very well. They came right back with, okay, what's your issue? Let's drill into it. And here's a solution.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I know we talked about like open-ended questions, really asking them why, like, what it does for them working with other agents, or why they, don't want to sign the agreement right now. Just kind of getting to know and asking them those open-ended questions to get them thinking about it.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I agree. Digging deeper on questions, right? It helps you understand their motivations and their reasons for things, really, and it can help you connect better with them. Absolutely.
And asking an open-ended question, it gets them to talk. You actually want them to talk more than you do, because the more they talk, the more you learn.
Yep. You just have to listen.
Yes, and take notes.
The listening part's not so easy for some people. All right. Cool. Did Rhonda step away?
Yes.
Okay, that's all right. Well, we can move forward. Want to go to the next slide?
Okay. Sharing the app.
Hey, the mobile app. Okay. So one of your value propositions that you can offer in your buyer consultation is your mobile app, is your KW app, right? You want to make sure that if you're working with a buyer, that you get them shared right away on the app. Not only because of the search features, right? So they can look for properties. And honestly, the ability to see what your client is searching and looking at and saving is so very important. It's so interesting to see sometimes, like they'll tell you that they want to look in a certain location in a certain house, and all of a sudden you see their search pattern is in for a completely different location for different types of houses, right? It gives you some insights as to what's going on. I remember one of my agents telling me they had a client they were working with for like a year, and the client was like a bachelor. He wanted a home inside of Boston that was a condo and needed to be in the city. A year later, he bought a home in Plymouth, a full-size single-family home in Plymouth, right? Completely like 180 degrees from where they started. So it's important to keep up with what your client wants. There's also something very cool on your app, and it's called the Buyer and Seller Guides. How many people have the app on their phone, this particular app?
What's the name of this app?
It's the KW search app.
KW.
It's the white square with the red KW.
Yeah, what is the name of it officially in the Play Store? Hold on, let me look up. If you look in your Play Store under Keller Williams, it's called KW Buy and Sell Real Estate is the official name of it.
Oh.
We call it the
Okay.
KW app. Yeah. This is when you give.
I am.
You have a question? A lot of background noises right now. Okay. So yeah, you want people on your app. One of the other things that you can say to the people you're trying to give this app, like, say, well, I have the Zillow app, right? Or I want to get the Zillow app, or I have the Redfin app, or I have the, well, you want to be on mine, right? And one of the things I tell people is, look, when you have my app, right, and you download and you create an account with your username and password and your email address, the only one who's going to send you spam is me. I'm the only one going to send you spam. Zillow and Redfin, they're gonna get your name's gonna get put on a ton of lists. You're gonna get a ton of spam mail, and your information is gonna be sold to somebody else. Right? So that is a great way to get people on your own app. For sure. Steve, can you mute yourself actually, just because I think there's a ton of background noise coming through. Yeah, my sorry. And also the buyer and the seller guide are very, very nice here, because it gives your clients a way to follow along in the process, right? I'm immediately, if I assign a buyer, the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting on the app, and then I'm getting them on the buyer guide, and I'm telling them, look, you can follow along with what we're doing. It'll tell you what the next steps are. It'll give you an insight into how the transaction will flow. And as we go through steps, you can actually check off the process, go through and check off that you've completed steps. It gives your buyers agency, and they think it's very, very cool as to what's going on through it. So if you do not have the mobile app on your phone, I really recommend that you grab it for yourself and that you brand it to yourself. Because once it's branded towards you, whenever you share that app, it goes over branded. The people who get it do not have to claim you as their agent. It already comes over that way, and it just makes life a ton easier if you have it yourself to share it directly from your app itself. And actually, it shows you the process right here on this slide that we're looking at right now. And anybody new who signs up, by the way, comes immediately to your contacts. So you immediately get the lead there. So if you haven't already, you should be giving your app to your biggest fans, the people out there who are going to promote you, and say, share this with everybody you know, right? Because then you could start getting organically, as people share it, more and more people to your database. Any questions with the app? So if you don't have it, download it, create an account for yourself, create it as if you were a client. Do not sign in with your KW information. Sign up as if you were a client, okay? That way you come into your database as a completely new contact, and you'll be able to see what happens back and forth.
And this app works all over the country. So if you have friends that are going to Florida and they want to look at houses, tell them to use your app.
So this app, you want it to be like you're a client as well as it's set up, like, is it set up twice or?
No, so this app is for people searching for homes. This is not for you as a real estate agent, right? So you have to remember that, okay? The command app is a separate app, and that's for you, right? The command app is your database. Yeah, this is a different app altogether. Yeah, this is for your clients to search for homes. I still want it on your phone, though. You should still have it on your phone, because practice makes perfect, right? Yeah.
So as you were saying, to share what you were saying about the contacts organically going into your command, that is through the KW Command app?
No, through this app. So when somebody signs up for an account on your KW app, they immediately go into your database. You get their information immediately. You get their name and you get their email address immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's this one.
That's this one. If they sign up for an account here.
If they sign up for account here, then it will, then they'll become a contact in my command.
Then they come in contact in your command. Yes.
And how do I make it my app? 'Cause that's what I'm wondering.
Okay, so if you have not already, if you download, you should. Hey, you can make Steve your agent if you want, but I'm sure you'll love that. But no, you should always make yourself your agent, or me. As soon as you log in, as soon as you create an account on this particular app, in the bottom right is a little person, and you click on that button on the bottom right, and at the very top it'll say "Find your agent." And you're going to find yourself and you're going to make yourself your agent.
Oh, okay. I see.
Right?
Okay.
Once
And then
branded, then when you share it, it goes over branded.
Then, okay. So from there, then, from there, it shares it's a command, and then you send everybody else to make you their agent, right? Is that right?
No, when you set yourself up as the agent, and then when you share it with other people, except for Mark DeRosiers, who we're having a little issue with it, it sends it out to them with you as the agent already.
Yes, they don't have to pick an agent. If someone shares, if you were branded to them and they share that app with somebody else, it automatically goes over branded for you. They don't have to select an agent. You are already the agent on it. So that's why we have you on your own phones, download the app, put yourself as the agent, because if you share it the way they show it here, then it automatically goes over as branded agents. There are other ways to share your app. We're not going to go over that today, but this is actually the easiest. If I'm on the go and I want to give someone my app, I'm immediately just opening the app and hitting share, and they get my app.
Okay.
Practice it. Download it, make yourself your agent. Do this share thing, share it with somebody you know. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as your clients create collections, right? So they if they're searching for something and they save properties, right? You get to see that in your command, right? So they actually show a screenshot here. You get to have insights into what your buyers truly want in a home. So they can see the collections that they're creating. So like I said, you can see if they start looking at a place completely different than what you were talked about before, or if they're if they're interested in some houses, and you can see when they're on too. So that way you can call them and be like, oh yeah, hey, I see you've been looking for stuff. Are you back into the buying game? Can I help you out? Right? There's a whole bunch of different reasons to keep up with what they're looking at for collections and things like that.
And it also gives you the opportunity, if if they told you they want a 3-bedroom ranch house, and you see that they're looking at a number of colonials or capes, you can say, hey, I noticed you've been looking. Do I need to change your search parameters for you?
Yeah.
So you can update on the fly. And then my favorite trick is when you see that they've looked at this house 2 or 3 times. Hey, I noticed you've looked at this house a couple of times. When do you want to go see it?
Really powerful stuff.
So it gives you a good history of what they're looking at, how often they're looking at it, and if they're on the app and they love the house and they hit the little heart, it puts a notation here in the notes. If they want more information, you will get a message saying Maggie wants more information on 125 Smith Street. So you can respond to them very quickly.
So how many of you are downloading your app right now?
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Give it out to people.
Okay, you want to start talking?
Yeah.
Muted.
Go.
Okay. Me?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going. Okay. Sorry. So then there's also the consumer guide, which is another section in Command over in the consumer tab, where you can create your guide through this guide builder. It already has something in there for you, and you can go in there, you can just customize it. So that way it is stuff that you want to portray to your buyers for your guide. So all of this is completely interactive, and you can customize it. So over in that consumer tab, if you go over to the guide builder up at the top there, that's where you'll be able to go in and just and customize this.
And I do want to say, you absolutely want to customize this.
Yes.
Absolutely. The default, there's a default in there, as Rhonda mentioned. However, the default does not work for Massachusetts. The default is a 1 contract state. Massachusetts is a 2 contract state. Also, if you read the descriptions and the things in there, there is some mention of an assistant named Alex, I believe. So, and I know we all need a little Alex in our life, but you may not have that, or you could keep them and just pretend you do, I guess. So you absolutely need to customize this. This really helps deliver that 10+ experience to your clients. I'm gonna so how many deals is a person worth? Is a person worth 1 deal?
No, ma'am.
Right? They're worth more than 1, right? Because if you do a good enough job and you deliver that 10+ customer experience, they're going to be worth the repeat business that they're going to give you, and they're going to be worth the referral business that you give you. And they're only going to do that if you deliver an experience that is an amazing experience for them. This helps, right? Having a guide at their fingertips so they can look at to see what's coming up next and just sets expectations for them so they don't have that as many questions. Hey, maybe with this you could save yourself a 10 o'clock at night phone call, right? It's not going to stop all of them, but it will certainly help. Having this kind of thing is really a wonderful thing to offer your clients, and it's very unique to the Keller Williams app.
And now having our own rosters.
Okay. Any questions with the guide at all?
But if the structure, then that means that.
Hi, great. So lots of information today. Let's recap. Let's do a couple of ahas. Would love to hear from you guys on what you thought about today's session, what you learned, what your big aha, and what is the first thing that you want to do this afternoon, over the weekend. What are you going to do as far as getting through some of this research and getting your buyer's consultation ready to go? So let's hear from you guys.
I know for me, it's going to be going over the contracts and making
Great.
myself familiar with that.
Awesome, Ryan. Great. Yeah, highlight them. And then if you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Anything that you don't understand, just highlight it, and then we can go over it.
Thank you.
Great, Roberto. Awesome. Yeah, the buyer presentation is awesome.
I'm going to be downloading that app.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah.
On the buyer presentation, I actually always have 2 in my briefcase, because once in a while, I mean, it's it's happened to me a few times where people have just walked into the office and said, I need a realtor, and boom, here I am, sit down and talk to me, and I have it ready. So go in, customize it to yourself, and print out 1 or 2 copies. So and put them in an envelope so they don't get all crinkled.
I'd say setting that first appointment is really important because you could save a lot of time. That was, yeah, I like that. And also the app definitely helped me because I don't know why, but I was under the impression that we were sharing the command app. So I had that confused. So I'm definitely gonna be sharing that app.
Oh,
too.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for the clarification.
You're welcome. Yeah, the command app is for you. That's so you can,
like,
so you can access your database on the go. Yes, this one is for your clients.
Yes,
And,
yes.
It's cool too. Like play around with it. Like I actually use mine a lot. I'll be like driving in like some random place and I'll like pass a house. I'm like, what's the value of that house? And I'll just pull it up on my app because it's super simple. So it is, and get to know it too. Play with it. Find out what it looks like on both ends.
And it'll actually bail you out of situations sometimes. As you go out and start showing clients houses, you're always going to pass that one house with the for sale sign, and they're going to say, why aren't we stopping at that house? Oh, you need 3 bedrooms. This one only has 2, or it's $600,000. You're capped at 500. You know, you're not like, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'll get back to you on that. You've got the answer right there in the palm of your hands.
Never thought of that. That's a good.
I know, that's great.
Good.
Well, we can see who doesn't go out on taking clients out in their car anymore.
You shouldn't drive your clients. And no one did. You shouldn't drive your clients. It's not good for your insurance. Meet them there.
Exactly. Anything else? Any other ahas or anything today before we wrap up? Maggie, anything else that we need to go over today before we wrap up?
I just reiterate the importance of a buyer consultation, right? It is so important to have that meeting ahead of time, not just for safety reasons, like is a big one, but because it really does save you time. So practice the script about why they need to meet with you ahead of time. Practice, because convincing someone to sit down, it's hard sometimes. They just want to meet, especially in like an environment where we gotta go, like stuff's off the market and very quickly. Like even if it's for a half an hour ahead of time, right? Like this way you can set your expectations, kind of get what they're looking for, and maybe sit and really provide an experience for your client that's going to be helpful for them, right? If someone's been looking for a ton, like you see it all the time, people come in and open houses and they're like, yeah, we've been looking for a long time, we just haven't been. Like, well, maybe it's because you just haven't met the right agent. Let's sit down, let's talk about it. Maybe we can really hone this in for you and make this a lot shorter for you, right? Have conversations, get them to the table.
Awesome. Great. Anything else? Anything else anybody wants to chat about before we're ending a couple of minutes early, which is great. It's Friday, so that gives you guys some really good time to play with some of the things that we just talked about. Get onto command and all of that. Make sure that you do your 10 contacts today. Make sure that you make your calls today. Just reach out and talk to everybody. So make sure you're doing your daily 10-4. Okay. Anything else?
I have a question.
Sure, Jen.
So sorry. No, just because I want to feel prepared, because I do have a phone call to make when we get off. My cousin called me yesterday, yes, and she told me she was in the Marines, and so she knows somebody who's still in there and is being stationed in Newport and is looking for some real estate assistance. So I was gonna call her and kind of get an idea of what she's looking for. But in relation to what we're talking about, when would be an appropriate time to bring up that buyer agreement? Would it be like, because it would clearly, everything would be phone calls. So would like that first consultation be considered like the phone call we're having today, or like what do you think?
Yeah, so usually that first phone call is the buyer, sort of the information one. There's actually a thing for that in the toolkit, to like kind of get your basic information about them, right? Like, are you pre-approved? Or you need to like, have you sat down with somebody? All like it asks all those questions, and then like set up an appointment time to sit down to do the consultation after that. So it's like the first phone call is going to be like fact finding mission, right? And there's going to be a few questions. I'm trying to find that thing for you right now. I'm talking to you. And then that second call is when you should be doing, hopefully, like, then you grab the appointment. That's when you solidify the appointment for the next one. And that next one you might want to do on Zoom if you're not going to do a face-to-face.
Right.
Like the, depends on her availability, right?
Right.
If you can do in person, do it in person, you know, try to get in Zoom. I like to see like face-to-face connection. You can see a lot more, get more from people.
Right.
That's how that second one, when you do the full conversation, that's when you present the.
Okay.
Yeah.
So today would kind of pretty much be, like I said, finding out what she's looking for.
Yeah, let me find that thing for you.
Okay.
It's in the toolkit. There.
Yeah.
You gotta find it.
Great question, Jennifer. Okay, anything else? Anybody else have any other questions? Going once, going twice. I hope everybody has a great weekend. You guys are careening into your last week of Ignite next week. I think then maybe one more the following. Is there like a Monday class that it ends on when graduation is? Is that that's to be the 31st?
No, I think Friday's the last day.
Friday, okay.
It's the last class is optional for the market centers.
Got it. Okay, great. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, if you guys need anything, we are all here. I mean, all of the instructors that you've been meeting along the way, we honestly are all here to help support your businesses. So if you need something, please let us know, and hope you guys all have a great weekend. Thanks for spending your Friday with us.
Jennifer, I just threw it, the buyer lead sheet. That's the thing. Go through that and ask the questions, right?
Okay.
For anybody else, these are all in the toolkits. If you have not looked at your toolkits for Ignite yet, this stuff is in there. It's super helpful. So.
All right. I'm so glad you sent that. Thank you.
You are welcome. Good luck. Go get it.
Yes, I'm gonna review this. Okay, good.
Ryan, you had a question on something earlier when we were talking about the consumer app.
I did not. I don't know if you're talking to me. I don't think I did.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was going to say I'm going to be in the Middletown office on Tuesday if you wanted to swing by.
I mean, if I have a question, I'll definitely be there. But
okay.
Thank you.
How do you get the toolkit? It is on the drive. Hold on.
It's in your Ignite resources on that shared drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Get link.
Jennifer, I can email you the link.
Put it in the chat right now too.
Oh, it's in the chat. Okay.
Yeah. Paste. Go. There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, all the materials are in there. The buyer checklist, all the tip sheets and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. It's like a ton. Yeah, and it's all useful. I've had top producers ask me for some things, and I was like, I think I got one of those. I'll just go to the toolkit and just give it to them. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. So, all right, cool.
Okay, so, well, before we leave, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. And Kirsten and Danielle, start script practice.
Awesome.
Homework already.
Bye, guys. Have a great Friday.
Bye, guys. See ya.